All right, so it is 1:02, so we'll get started. I will just introduce myself. My name is Angel. I am a training specialist with the Redistricting Data Hub, and this is one of the mapping tool sessions we have with District Builder. And we're very excited to have Tyler and Robert here today to answer any questions and go over the tool. And now I will pass it along to them. But just actually one more thing before I do, I want to check with everyone that my current speaking volume and speed is okay. We do want to make this accessible. And if there are any concerns during the chat or during the session, please feel free to message in the chat. We will also be monitoring that. And this session will be recorded for those who want to revisit afterwards or weren't able to attend, and it will be on our website.
All right. I'll start off. I'm the product manager. I'm Tyler Gilchrist. I'm the product manager of District Builder, and I'll be walking through a brief presentation and then showing everyone a demo of District Builder today. Robert, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. My name is Robert Cheatham. I'm the founder and CEO of Azavia. I am primarily here to monitor the chat and monitor any questions. So if you have questions that arise over the course of Tyler's presentation, please put them in the chat and we'll assemble them as appropriate to pass on to Tyler.
Thanks, Robert. So I can go ahead and get started. Let me try to present my screen here. Is that visible? It's loading just a second. Is the full screen version visible now? Okay. Great. So this is just an introduction to District Builder. I'll kind of walk through how we are thinking about District Builder for 2021. What are the key features? And then I'll go through a demo of the tool and leave time for a Q&A and questions about the tool or anything, how it works. Just to give you a brief background, as Robert mentioned, we're from a company called Azavia. We are a geospatial software company. We're also a B Corp, so we take on projects that align with our mission and our values. And District Builder is one of those projects that we are building out. So we are building out a redistricting tool because we believe that redistricting is an important process and believe it should be open and accessible to everyone. And so that aligns well with how we work. We do a lot of development out in the open with open source code. And District Builder's code base is open source. So you can check out, see exactly what we're building into the tool so that it's transparent and available for everyone to see. District Builder nowadays is not the same District Builder as when we originally started building it. We originally built District Builder back for the 2010 redistricting cycle, and the census data and reapportionment around that time. We had a number of instances of District Builder, which are specific regions that we set District Builder up for. It was something that we built a lot of functionality into. It was very robust. It could support a lot of different customization, but it was something that required a lot of effort to set up and was pretty complex in how customizable it was at the time. It allowed us to run competitions in a number of places. So something that we've often done is set up these competitions that folks from the public can join and participate in the redistricting process. And we found that that's often a highlight of how folks are able to engage with District Builder and generates a lot of interest in trying to draw their best map and how they're in what they think should be the redistricting, the maps that come out of redistricting. But for 2020 and 2021, we knew we wanted to do some things better and some things differently, and we wanted to make District Builder even more accessible. So I mentioned that it was something that took a lot of time and effort to set up and expertise in terms of software engineering skills. And what could we look back at and learn what worked well, what didn't work well. Can we make it faster? So District Builder was a powerful tool, but we wanted to make it even better to use from a UX perspective. We wanted to give people more real-time feedback. And could we continue supporting block level editing on the web? So something that the original District Builder did that a number of free district drawing tools were not able to do at the time was to do block level editing. And could we maintain that and still improve and make District Builder faster in 2021? And could we overall make it a fun experience? Could we really improve the design to the point where it's something that's a joy to use? So we are guided by a few design principles in answering those questions. We want to make sure that there are real-time updates in the data and the changes that you're making, so you can see exactly how many blocks you're selecting when you select a number of blocks and what that population is that you're actually changing within your district. Can we make things discoverable? So can we show you the population distribution across all the blocks, across the block groups? Can we make it something that's very easy to understand where that population is and how you might break down the population in different demographic groups and be able to see where pockets of certain demographics are, so you can make sure to draw your districts in accordance with understanding how that population is broken down. And really making it as open and accessible as possible. So we are in the process of releasing all 50 states for district drawing in District Builder, and trying to make it so that you can share a map out with a link, or you can take what you've drawn in District Builder and you can import it into another system, making it open and accessible, and making maps transferable so that folks can engage and really draw maps that are a community effort and something that people can see done out in the open and transparently, as opposed to how it has been done in the past. So in terms of our development plans, District Builder is very much a tool that's under active development. We are partnering with a group called Public Mapping Project. Doctors Michael McDonald and Dr. Micah Altman are a couple of our advisors from that group, and they are helping us figure out which features we're including in District Builder, and have helped us win grant funding to build out a majority of those features. We have received funding from the Sloan Foundation in particular as a bulk of our funding to build out District Builder. And that's included things that you can see in our public roadmap. So we have a public roadmap, and I'll share the link out to that, where you can see what things are we building into District Builder and where are we at with those items. So this picture is a little bit out of date, but shows you sort of when and which features we're releasing and when we expect those features to be available in District Builder. Some things that I'll be talking about a little bit today but are also upcoming that we want to highlight are things like organizations. So things that allow groups of people to draw maps on District Builder. Some evaluation metrics so you can review and evaluate how your map is performing. Communities of interest, so pulling in other layers of communities or potentially municipalities, things that you want to sort of compare to the district shapes that you're drawing. And then of course elections data, which we'll be getting from Dr. Michael McDonald's team, University of Florida. He's compiling election data and has released most of it for 2016 and 2018 and now 2020. And that will be coming into District Builder as we develop out features to incorporate that. So with that, I will jump into the demo. So very quickly here, I'll just plug our DistrictBuilder.org site. So this is our homepage. If you come here, this is where you can sign up for a District Builder account. And this is also where you can log in to access your account once you've created it. We have some information about District Builder and what features are available. We also link to our public roadmap here on our site, so you can visit that and review our public roadmap. You can sign up for our mailing list. And we also have a number of resources here about redistricting, how to use District Builder, also running public mapping initiatives. So something we've done a number of times, and Micah and Michael have written an online book about, is running public mapping initiatives and how to do that and how to think about receiving map submissions from the public and soliciting map submissions from the public. All right, so I'll just jump in here. When we first log in, this is what it looks like when you create a brand new account. We have a link to our Getting Started guide. So if you want to review that to see sort of the basics of how to use District Builder, it walks you through in a text-based document. I'll be walking through a lot of that same stuff here today. So if we click on Create a Map, then we can start drawing our own map here. So I'm in Pennsylvania, so I will draw a map for Pennsylvania U.S. Congressional. And I will pick the state that I want to draw, Pennsylvania, and I'll grab the chamber that I want to draw here. We have a number of these pre-configured for each state, so you can pick which chamber you want to draw for. Or if you know that you want to draw a custom number of districts, you can also pick this custom option and enter the number of districts you wanted to draw if you wanted to draw a specific different number than what we have configured. This is the current number of districts for Pennsylvania that have been apportioned since 2010. We expect that Pennsylvania will probably go down to 17 districts after reapportionment. So if you wanted to say enter 17 there until we have that officially in District Builder, you could do that as a custom map. So if I create my map, what this does is it creates a new map in my account, and it creates a blank slate map for me to start drawing my districts. Let me just kind of orient you on the layout here before we get into some of the features. So on the left-hand side, you'll see a sidebar here, which contains information about each of our districts. Across the top, we have some drawing tools here. And then the top right corner here are some things that we want to do maybe once we're done with our map. And I can kind of show you each of those once I have some districts drawn here. We also have the name of the map, and I can edit the name of the map in case I want to change it. I can edit it right here in line, and if I wanted to change it, Tyler's Pennsylvania U.S. Congressional, I could do that. So the way that you start drawing districts in District Builder is pretty simple. So we have our little point and click selection tool here. If I just start clicking on counties, I can add them to a district. So you'll notice that when I hover over a county, I have information about what county that is. I have the population, and I have the racial breakdown of the population in terms of the percentage. as I click on these, I'm not actually making any changes, but you'll see that in this first row, it's starting to preview the changes that I'm making to District 1. I have District 1 selected by default here, and as I select counties, that number will update with the population that is expected to get saved into District 1. So this is some of that real-time feedback that we're trying to give folks as they create their districts. So if in the columns here, you'll see we have our population figure. So this is the total population that I've selected for my district. We have the deviation, which is the population deviation from how, which is how far I am off my target population. So we assume that we want to draw districts of all equal population, and the deviation is how many people I am off from that target population. So the target population is somewhere around 705,000, and I have a population of 681. So I am off by 24,000 here in the deviation. So that's a pretty good start. It looks like some of these other counties might be kind of big. If I selected them, I would be going over my population. So none of them really have less than 24,000. So I can go ahead and save these changes by clicking Accept Changes here in the top right. When I do that, what this does is it saves those changes to my map. And I can see that the district is now colored with the district color of District 1. We also get a couple of more indications for metrics here. So we show what is the overall population breakdown of the race now that we have saved our district. And we get a measure of the compactness of the district here in this column. So this indicates that the district is 44% compact as indicated by Polsby-Popper, which is a specific redistricting metric that kind of tries to estimate how compact your district is. I think the official formula is the ratio of the circumference of the district, perimeter of the district, to the circumference of a circle of the same area of the district. So kind of estimating how rough the edges of your district are and how distorted sort of your district might be. Because we can't draw a circle, it's not possible to get to 100%, but generally once you get up into the 50, 60% range, those districts generally look pretty compact from a district drawing perspective, or from an eyeball perspective. So I have the deviation here at 24,000. There weren't really any other counties that I could select to add. So I want to break up the counties to add smaller units of geographies to my map. So if I click on the block groups layer here, I will then see possible block groups that I can add to my layer. And block groups are a division of census geography that nest within counties that are sort of a nice intermediate size geometry that allow us to grab a specific number of people. So you'll notice that as I mouse over these, I get the population and breakdown of each one of them. So I can see, yes, these are much smaller. If I want to add a number of these to my district, I can start adding smaller increments of people. And if I want to add several of them at a time, I can grab this rectangle selection tool and select a number like this. And as I select shapes, you'll see in the left-hand column, my total population and deviation are updating. And let's try to end it right about there, which is pretty good in terms of the deviation. So that's how we make some more finer changes to our districts. I'll pause there. It looks like there are a couple of questions about state data in the chat.
Yeah, just waiting for a stopping point. One was from Noe about whether we expect to have all states. We do plan to support all states. We were rolling them out about 10 states at a time. We stopped for a couple of reasons. One is the delay in the 2020 census data. And the second is that because we currently have 2010 geometry and people are drawing districts. For example, in Pennsylvania, we've got more than 1,000 district plans being drawn as part of a collaboration with a redistricting competition happening in the state. There would be a need to migrate people from the 2010 geometry to the 2010 geometry. As many of you are probably aware, the Census Bureau changes the block boundaries with each decennial census. So we're currently in the process of assessing how much work it's going to be to shift everything to 2020 and how we'll migrate all of our current users and plans to the new geometry. Once we finish that evaluation, we expect to resume rollout of the remaining states. As it stands right now, we're committed to supporting all the states by the time the Census Bureau releases data. I think that was also Michael's question about Indiana. I expect we'll have it in conjunction with the 2020 census, possibly before, if we can come up with a way to migrate the data in a cost-effective way.
Thanks, Robert. All right. So now say I want to draw another district. I can just click on District 2 here. I'll start with counties because those are nice and large, and start selecting more shapes. And as you can see, I am adding district population to District 2. So this proceeds much the same way as District 1. Also, if we want to, if I start selecting population here and then I forget, oh, I'm actually adding population to District 2 here, before I accept the change, I can simply switch to a different district and continue adding population to that district. So this might actually be a better balance for District 3 than adding that, all that extra population to District 2. Great. So that's sort of the basics of district drawing. A couple of other things I'll mention. As I mentioned with the getting down to the block level as possible, you can draw very specific population deviation maps. So say, I don't really have a block group here that I can take out that will balance me perfectly with the population. But if I want to take it out of, let's say I want to take out this block group from District 1, I would go back to my unassigned population. So something I didn't mention here is that this top row is all the people in the state that haven't been assigned to any district. So that's the unassigned population. So if I want to remove them from my district, I simply select the unassigned row and then I save it. So I move that block group back into the unassigned column. And now I'm slightly under, but I want to get closer. So I go ahead and start block editing by clicking on blocks. There's a little bit of information here about just some things you should know when you start block editing. It's more of an advanced feature. There's some limitations on some of the visibility that you'll see here. So just because I've selected blocks, I can't see them right away because they're very small shapes. And if we had to show all the blocks on the map at one time, we can't do it at a, sort of when it's very, when we would show like, thousands and thousands of blocks just because of how much data there is. So as we zoom in here, you'll see that the blocks will appear when I get to the right level. And so now that I've zoomed in far enough, I can see those blocks and start editing with them. If you zoom out far again, you'll see this message pop up, just says zoom in to work with blocks, to let you know that we know you've selected blocks, but you need to zoom in a little bit further. The nice thing about this is it also functions as a button. So if you click on it, it will zoom right to that level that you need to be to see the blocks. So now that I have blocks, I can start grabbing some additional population here. And I need to select District 1. Let me undo that. And I will get down to 17 population. And this provides you a nice way to get very sort of granular in your population maps of your districts. Something I didn't mention here in terms of the drawing controls is a paintbrush tool. So if you want to draw with a paintbrush, you can use that to select districts as well. And so you hold down, click, and draw, and basically color in the shapes. And this gives you a nice little more control than having to select a rectangle, which might select some shapes that you don't always want to select. The other thing I would add here is that say I want to grab some of this county from for District 2, but I don't want to undo anything I have in District 1. So I can lock District 1, and when I do that, you'll see a little dot layer overlaid on District 1. Now I can select anything next to District 1 without selecting anything that is part of District 1. So when I select that and I add it to District 2, this prevents me from undoing any of the changes that I made to District 1. Now I can't select this block because part of it is in District 1, or sorry, I can't select this block group because part of it is in District 1. But if I select the blocks and I go down to that level, then I can select all of those blocks that match up just perfectly and nest with District 1 there, but don't actually take anything away from it. So you can use this lock functionality as kind of a way to, lock what you have so you don't make any further changes to it. Sort of like a checkpoint. If you get to a good point in that district, you can lock it and say, okay, I'm done with this one. Now I can move on to the next one. And can be used as a way to kind of mark where you're at in your progress. All right, a couple more drawing tools here. When we say I had selected this block for District 2, that shape is not contiguous with the rest of District 2. And so the first thing you'll see here is there is a little message, a little flag and a little message about how the district is not contiguous. In order to calculate the compactness, we need to have all of the district be contiguous. But say I didn't know exactly where that was, say I was zoomed out somewhere over here and I was like looking at the edges of District 2 and I'm like, I don't know where that extra non-contiguous part is. It's saying it's non-contiguous, but everything looks pretty good. If I want to find exactly where that non-contiguous part is, I use this find button up here in the top right. So we can find two different things. Let's find non-contiguous first, just to show you that. So when I find non-contiguous, it tells me how many non-contiguous parts I've found. There are 2, and right now I'm viewing one of those 2 shapes. And when I arrow through them, much like Control F, like a find in a web browser, you can toggle through each one, and this will zoom exactly to that shape that has been that is non-contiguous with your district. So it's like, oh, okay, so I left this one non-contiguous. I can select these blocks, and assign them to my district. And now I resolve that non-contiguous issue. The other thing you can do with find is, say I've added these to District 2, and I've added everything else to a district, but there's some little amount of population. So let's say I go to counties and let me lock these, and I just add everything to another district so that all the population is accounted for. And so now I'm looking at this, I'm like, there's 10 population, but I'm not sure where that population is. Like everything looks like it's been assigned to a district. I can use the find option again to find unassigned. And when I do that, I can zoom directly to that specific block that is missing from my district just by using the arrow keys here. So you'll see I missed another one here. This happened to have 0 population, but there was another little block shape here that I missed as well. So I can go ahead and assign that to District 1, and then it will jump me to the next unassigned district, unassigned shape. I can grab all of this and assign that to District 2. And now I have 0 unassigned shapes in my district plan. So a couple of tools there to help you make sure that you're drawing a map that's contiguous and complete. All right. Great. So now that I've drawn my district plan here, which is obviously not a very good one, but let's imagine I'm finished with my district plan. What can I then do with it? So there are a few buttons up here. Share is one option for you to use with your district plan. So by default, we start with plans as private, so they're not visible to anyone but yourself. Then another option is to share with a link, so that if I have this shareable link now, and if I copy that and send that to someone, they can follow that link and view my plan in a view only mode. So they can see all the districts I've drawn, they can zoom in, zoom out, pan around. They can't actually make any changes, but they can see all the specifics of the district's metrics and how the districts have been drawn. And then the third option here is published, which means that it's visible to anyone on DistrictBuilder. This is still sort of under construction, but basically anything that would be published would be visible on a public profile or in a list of all the maps on DistrictBuilder, so that the whole community can see the map that you've drawn.
There's a question that's come up in the chat. Can I start with an existing 2010 district and then modify? The answer is yes, in a few different respects. One is that we plan to provide existing plans for states where the number of districts isn't changing. You could probably start with that pretty easily. For states where district counts will be changing, that could be a starting point, but you'd have to reduce or increase the number of districts accordingly. The second thing I'll say is if there's a specific district that you're trying to redraw, we're going to be enabling people to import existing district plans via block interchange files, and Tyler will probably go over that shortly. It's a feature that's not quite rolled out yet, but we're close. A few more questions. How can you delete maps that you created just to see how the tool works? That might be something for Tyler to demonstrate.
Yeah.
And also some questions around searching for published maps. So I think Tyler's going to get to that.
Cool. So let me go ahead and address the importing map. So if you have a map file that you have brought from somewhere else, another redistricting tool or something, what we can do is we can import that file into District Builder. And specifically, the format that we support is a block equivalency file, which is a CSV format, which is a 2-column CSV that has block ID and the district number. And that will map all of the blocks to their corresponding districts. And we are able to import that as an existing map into District Builder. So what that looks like is, hold on one second, let me just pull up the file that I need. Let's say we have a CSV file here that I've just uploaded. You can drag and drop, or you can select from your file system. Because the block IDs have a state code in them, it's a FIPS code, so it has the state embedded in there. We're able to detect which state the file is for. And then you can pick a number of districts to enter currently. So this is the most basic version of this, but this operates like the custom district functionality that I showed earlier, where you can enter a number of districts and you can create a map by doing that. And when you do that, you'll see that it creates a map with some districts already populated. So this file just happened to have only information for 5 districts, but it could contain information for all the districts that you're trying to draw. So if you wanted to import a map that was already existing for an entire plan, that could be imported as well. But as you see, all those districts have been mapped to the blocks and assigned to their corresponding districts here for you to start modifying. There's not a way to import shapefiles currently. Yeah, right now we only support the CSV import, mainly because it gives the mapping is nice. You know, if we have the block to the district mapped. Doing shapefile would require a little bit more work in terms of figuring out where the shapefile actually overlaps with the blocks, and if we end up if there's some topology error with the shapefile and sort of how it's splitting a block potentially, we haven't been able to address that yet. So currently it's just a CSV file import. In terms of deleting maps, here in your map list, once you've started creating maps, you'll see a list of all the maps that you've created. There are a couple of options here. You can export your maps, which is also possible from the map page, which I didn't talk about, but you can export a shapefile, you can export CSV or GeoJSON, which are a few different export formats. This CSV format is the same format that we expect for import. The shapefile and GeoJSON are slightly different. They are the spatial data files for the district shapes themselves. So when you export the districts in those formats, you get the specific polygons of the districts and the metrics that go along with those. So those metrics you saw in the sidebar, those are appended to the district shapes in the export. Here's the option for deleting a map. So if you want to delete your map, you can click that. It will give you a confirmation here, and then you can delete it from there. And you can also duplicate your map. So if you wanted to create a different copy and sort of fork it and start editing a new version, then you can do that there.
Trying to address a couple more questions. So we have an open question around how to search for all the published maps. I think Tyler's going to get to that in his process. There's a couple other questions here around, one around if there's a way to import shape files. We've discussed that, and we don't think we're going to at this time. There are some potential issues around importing shapefiles, specifically that it's very tough to get the geometry, projections, and all of the other things matched up with the current set. And so the most reliable way of avoiding things like sliver polygons and polygons that don't overlay properly or reprojection errors will be to support block equivalency files. It's possible we may at some point in the future allow an ability to import shapefiles as an overlay, for example, not as a plan, but as, for example, a community of interest that you might just want to overlay as a visual thing, but it's not currently on our roadmap. The other question I can address right now is support for functionality related to county and local redistricting. This is a really great question. It's one of the things that we supported in District Builder 2010, and many of our implementations were at the county and local level. We already support county and local redistricting in this new version of District Builder, and I have a couple of organizations that are already doing redistricting work. So we won't be covering all counties and cities in the United States. That would be an enormous task, and we don't have the funding to support that. But for cities and counties that want to do local redistricting work, we have an option for doing that, an ability to customize the data that's provided, and ability to load alternative local county district boundaries. So the first place that we're supporting this is in Dane County in Wisconsin, and we've had inquiries from other folks. So this won't be, like I said, we won't be able to support every city in the country, but we'll be able to support cities that have a specific need. We'll probably have to charge some kind of customization fee for that, but it will be made available freely to any citizens or end users in those locations.
Yeah, and I just thought I'd pull up here the Dane County example. So this is in Wisconsin. It's the county that surrounds Madison, Wisconsin, and we've worked with them to set up a custom region configuration for just Dane County here. You'll see that we have no longer we don't have this county selection. We just have the block groups and the blocks. But in fact, something that we're about to deploy for them is a county word layer. So we're able to replace the block groups with another layer if that's necessary for the county, if they want to use, say, wards instead of the block groups, because that's how they think about the layers. Precincts would be another one that would be an option to replace those layers with.
Yeah, this is a really important feature that, in terms of not being tied strictly to the census geometry, there are a number of local jurisdictions in the country that don't use census geometry for forming districts, and Xavier is based in Philadelphia, and the Philadelphia City Council districts, for example, use population data from the blocks, but they use what they call ward divisions, which are voting precincts to form districts, and we wanted to be able to support that kind of capability as well.
Just to respond to the last question that I saw in the chat, Robert mentioned we don't currently have a way to search for all the published maps of a specific state. As I mentioned, that functionality, that published functionality, is sort of under construction at the moment, but we hope to be able to support that. So pulling out, being able to see sort of all the maps people are drawing and really show the community that's on District Builder is something that's important to us. It's not currently available, but something we do want to support in the future.
The first step in that direction was to have a share that provided both limited sharing, so someone who has a link could get to the map, versus publication, which would enable anyone to find the map.
All right. Let's see. I don't see any other questions. Let me just jump back into the map to make sure that I've covered everything. Here's where you can find the export, as I mentioned, if you want to export those formats of files. There's a support button here that talks about, that shows you a link to our Getting Started guide, and also a link to our email address where you can contact us if you need support while you're mapping. And then finally, there's an evaluate button here. This is just our staging site, so I'm not going to click on that because it's pretty incomplete. But the idea here is that if you click on this evaluate button, we will, and this is a mock-up of what this will look like, will give you some more in-depth information about the map that you've drawn in the different metrics that we have. So equal population, contiguity, competitiveness, compactness, all are different categories of metrics. And if you click into one of these, you'll get more detail about each one. So at the risk of, yeah, it's a bad idea. If you click into it, it will show you, say, county splits. You click on county splits, it'll show you the specific districts that are splitting each county on your map here, so you can see where you need to make those fixes. Or majority minority, it'll show you it'll highlight each district that has been drawn as a majority minority district, so you can make sure that you know where those are and how those have been drawn. So this is upcoming and sort of still in the works, but as you can see, we've got the button on our staging site, and more to come soon there. The last thing I want to talk about, very quickly, export. If you export a shapefile or a GeoJSON, one of our partners at PlanScore.org, I don't know if anyone is familiar with this, but you can take your plan to PlanScore and upload it there, and you can get further breakdown of data on election and competitiveness results. So this is more in depth than what we are going to build into District Builder. We're going to include some elections data, and we're going to give you some basic sort of indication of how competitive your districts are. But PlanScore provides a very nice interface and report for you to take your plan to. So you export your file, you take it over to PlanScore and upload it, and you get a map, or a report that looks like this, that shows you the districts that you've drawn, shows you how the plan compares to other plans, and in terms of efficiency gap, partisan bias, mean median. So a number of nice metrics there that are further than we're going to be able to go with District Builder, but provide a nice way to then evaluate your map in terms of competitiveness in pretty great detail. The other thing I'd like to show is a new feature that we're about to release called DistrictBuilder Organizations. So organizations are a way to support communities mapping on District Builder and the organizations that want to sponsor those communities. This is an organization page. This is just an example on our test site right now, but the general idea is the organization has some branding, some information about themselves so that people can be a part of that organization and draw maps with them. So in Azavia, we have our description of Azavia. We have a link out to our website. We have where Azavia is located, and we see how many people are building maps with District Builder on Azavia. So the way we, if we're a user, the way we interact with this, and I'll just do that real quick. We can join the organization to tie our user to this organization. Say, if I draw maps with this organization, then they'll be able to see my maps, and they'll be able to see my name and email address, so that they can contact me if they see a map they particularly like. And when I join, then I have access to start drawing with the templates that the organization has set up. So the templates are pre-configured regions for district mapping, and these right now are just for Pennsylvania, but these can be for any geographic region, Dane County, like you saw, or any county or local region. Basically, these templates provide nice starting points. So you don't have to go through that new map workflow. We're not going to be providing counties and local jurisdictions in that list of states on the main flow. But here you can use this to set up specific areas or chambers you want users to focus on. So when I say use this template, what that does is it starts a map for me with those specifications. So Pennsylvania map, state Senate with 50 districts for the state Senate districts. And I can start drawing my map from scratch here. The other nice thing about templates is that we can support existing maps. So if you wanted to set up a template that has the current state Senate districts and you wanted people just to modify them, you could set up a template in that way to start from that existing plan and make modifications. If I go back here, so those are the templates. The other thing we have here are featured maps on our organization page. So the organization admin can go through and select certain maps that they want to feature in their organization. And those maps will show up here on their organization page. The idea here is to create, some sort of showcase of a few of the maps that have been built and to show that these are the ones that, maybe we're particularly proud of, or that, focus on something really interesting or unique. And we want to highlight them in some way. So the organization can go through the list of their maps and select them to be shown here. It's not quite built yet, but if you click on these, then you go into view the map and see the view only mode that we saw earlier. Organization admins. So if I am an organization admin, I can view all of the maps that have been submitted to my organization. So I can see here's all the maps, here's the template that they were started from, here's the creator of that map, and when it was updated. These also will be links. They're not currently, but there'll be links to each map so you can view them. And then there's the ability to feature the maps on the organization page. So from here, the organization admin can select the maps to feature. And we allow up to 12 right now. That's sort of a number we started with, but sort of evaluate how that goes. But simply by selecting these, can you select those maps to feature on your organization page? To select the ones that you particularly like, and you want to make sure that that everyone can see. The other thing here is that these are only limited to published maps. So if the user hasn't published them, the admin can still see that it exists. But if the user hasn't agreed to publish it, then it can't be featured on the organization page. And that's to give the user a little bit more control over, their map that they've been drawing. If they want to sort of keep it to themselves for a bit, then they can still do that until they decide to publish it. All right, I think that's about all I have to cover. Robert, was there anything else you wanted to mention or wanted me to highlight here?
No, I think you've covered a lot of it. I think some of the new things that, if you've seen DistrictBuilder before, that we wanted to make sure we showed were around this idea of organizations, the ability to publish maps, support for local things, and so on. We are, as Tyler said at the beginning, I just want to emphasize we're continuing to develop the software and expect to continue releasing new features as we complete them from now through finalization of the census data. I think we all hope is coming in September.
Yeah, and I would also just mention, if you know anyone or any groups, any local jurisdictions that you think would be a good fit for an organization. You know, if a commission is looking for public input, if they're looking to run sort of a public mapping competition, you know, please let us know. We're happy to get in touch with them. We want to make District Builder as available to everyone as possible. And you know, while there will probably be some costs associated with setting up the organization, we want to make it accessible and trying to get as many people using DistrictBuilder as possible and drawing maps and engaging in this process as possible. So that's we'd love to have those sorts of conversations.
And if I can interrupt, I actually have a question. When you're rolling out these features, will you be notifying people who are already signed up on your website? Is that awesome? Okay,
Yeah, so the way that works, actually, we don't by default enroll you in the mailing list. So if you want to get those updates, you can go to our website and you can subscribe to our mailing list here at the top right. Once you subscribe to the mailing list, we send out periodic updates when we have new features. So we haven't sent out any marketing materials so far, and I don't expect the frequency of the emails is pretty low, but that is how we notify people when new features are released if they've signed up for our mailing list. Also, as new states are released, we provide those updates as well.